James Carter, a middle-aged man, lived alone in a modest wooden cabin nestled in the quiet town of Willow Creek, Oregon. After losing his wife to a long illness, he embraced a solitary life, finding solace in the simplicity of his days. Each weekend he ventured to a serene lake surrounded by dense woods, where he fished, drawn to the peace of rippling water, clear skies, and the gentle rustle of pine trees. A lover of nature, he lived humbly, always ready to aid any creature in need. His evenings were spent whittling small wooden figures, birds, deer, and foxes, each a tribute to the animals he cherished, placed lovingly on his mantel, their polished surfaces gleaming softly in the firelight. One crisp Sunday evening, James grabbed his fishing rod and headed to the lake, his heart light with the familiar comfort of routine. The tranquil beauty of the water soothed his soul as he cast his line, the soft lapping of waves blending with distant bird calls and the faint hum of evening insects. A strange, haunting sound broke the silence, not the usual chirps or scurries, but a faint, desperate cry that sent a chill down his spine. Standing quickly, he scanned the lake's edge and froze. In the distance, a young fawn, later named Daisy, struggled in the grip of a massive snapping turtle. Its jaws clamped tightly around Daisy's slender neck, pulling her into murky water, staining it red with blood. Her legs thrashed wildly, her wide eyes pleading toward the shore, filled with panic and fading hope. James's heart raced, pounding with urgency. He couldn't stand by as the fragile creature fought for its life. Grabbing his oars, he rowed toward the scene with all his strength, the water parting under his determined strokes. Sunlight glinted off the lake, forcing him to squint as he navigated through the blinding glare. He shouted, his voice echoing across the water, hoping to startle the turtle, but it held firm, its claws digging into Daisy's trembling body. As James drew closer, he jabbed the turtle's head with his oar, yelling to distract it. The turtle paused, its cold, unyielding eyes locking onto him, but it refused to release its grip. The struggle dragged on, tense and exhausting, as Daisy's strength waned, her head dipping dangerously close to the water's surface, her eyes growing dim with fading hope. Desperate, James balanced the oar in one hand and reached for Daisy with the other, lifting her head above the water, feeling her faint pulse beneath his fingers. With a final forceful shove of the oar, he struck the turtle's side, and it released her, retreating into the depths with an angry hiss. Gasping for breath, James pulled the shivering fawn onto his boat, her small body trembling as she clung to the edge, her faint whimpers piercing his heart. Without hesitation, he rowed back to shore, Daisy's weak moans urging him on. On land, he gently lifted the cold, soaking creature into the back of his old pickup truck, wrapping her in a worn wool blanket, its frayed edges soft against her fur. He checked her wounds, blood seeping from her neck and flank, and drove swiftly to Willow Creek's veterinary clinic, glancing back to comfort her with soft words and gentle pats. Each groan tugged at his heart, her round eyes filled with pain yet holding a flicker of trust. At the clinic, Dr. Emily Watson, a kind and skilled veterinarian, rushed Daisy into the emergency room. James waited outside, clutching his weathered hat, his eyes fixed on the door, pacing as he whispered prayers for her survival. His boots scuffed the worn floor, each step echoing his anxiety. After an agonizing hour, Dr. Watson emerged with good news. Daisy would survive, but needed careful attention. Her deep neck and flank wounds required regular bandaging and monitoring. She handed James detailed instructions for her care, cleaning wounds, feeding, and keeping her warm. Grateful, James carried the bandaged fawn back to his truck, her small body nestled in the blanket, her breathing steadier, a quiet sign of resilience. Back at his cabin, James prepared a soft bed of straw on the porch, layered with an old quilt for warmth, and warmed some goat's milk in a small tin pot. At first, Daisy hesitated, too weak to drink, but with patience she began to sip, her tiny tongue lapping tentatively. Each day, James tended to her, changing bandages, wiping her down with a warm cloth, and offering fresh grass. On sunny days, he carried her to the yard, letting her rest under a shaded oak surrounded by birdsong and blooming wildflowers. He spoke to her gently, calling her Daisy, as if she were his own child, his voice a steady comfort. At night, he placed her bed near a window, keeping watch as he rested. He carved a small wooden fawn, placing it near her bed as a token of hope, its smooth curves catching the moonlight, a silent guardian. Slowly, Daisy grew stronger. Her first steps were wobbly but determined, and soon she followed James around the garden, nuzzling his hand for affection, her soft muzzle warm against his palm. Her wounds healed, her coat regaining its delicate white spots, shimmering in the sunlight. Within a week, she roamed the yard, nibbling grass on her own, her eyes bright with life. Though James cherished her, he knew she belonged to the wild. He decided to return her to the forest near the lake where he'd saved her. One quiet morning, James drove Daisy to the lake's edge. He lifted her from the truck, stroking her soft fur one last time, his fingers lingering on her warm coat, memorizing her warmth. As he opened the door, a deep call echoed from the woods. A doe, Daisy's mother, waiting patiently, her silhouette framed by towering pines. Daisy glanced back at James, her eyes sparkling with gratitude, then bounded toward her mother, her steps light and sure. James watched, tears welling, his heart full, knowing he'd done right by her, the ache of parting softened by her newfound freedom. The next morning, as James sipped coffee on his porch, the aroma mingling with the fresh scent of pine, he heard soft footsteps. To his amazement, Daisy and her mother stood at the fence, gazing at him with gentle eyes. He approached slowly, and neither deer flinched. Daisy nuzzled his hand, and the doe dipped her head, as if in quiet thanks. Laughing softly, James sat on the grass, offering fresh clover, its sweet scent drawing them closer. The trio lingered in the morning light, the sun filtering through the trees, casting a warm glow over the peaceful scene. He sketched the moment in his journal, capturing their bond, the lines of his pencil tracing their graceful forms, each stroke a cherished memory. From that day, James's solitude felt lighter. Daisy and her mother visited often, their presence a quiet gift that warmed his quiet life. He wrote their story, preserving the memory of their connection, each word a testament to their bond, his pen moving with care across the pages. Each morning he glanced toward the woods, hoping for a glimpse of Daisy, her white spots flashing among the trees. His life, once empty, now brimmed with purpose, all because he'd answered a small creature's cry for help, a moment that redefined his quiet existence. Thank you for taking the time to read this story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.